Hey folks, hi. Am I audible to you guys? Hey folks. Hello. How are you folks? Can you quickly, before we start, can you quickly like the video and subscribe to the channel as much as possible? Hey Ajay, how are you? I see there are 13 folks in the call as of now. We'll quickly start in 2 minutes. Hey Sovraj. Hey Ajay. Mast. Awesome, awesome, awesome. बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया. I see more fix. Hey Rajat has joined. Hey Rajat. Hi. Please quickly like the video and subscribe to the channel as much as possible. We are going to start technology for PMs. This is going to be a very interesting topic. Today we are going to talk about the mindset. I'm not going to teach you tech. Tech is something that you would learn for becoming a PM. That is a great thing. But fundamentally, what I'm going to teach you is the mindset on which people can become great PMs and interact with technology teams. Awesome, awesome. Hey Vaibhav, how are you doing? Awesome, awesome. Hey Karan. कोई बात नहीं यार, I was a little busy, I couldn't. Hey Manoj, बहुत thank you very much for joining in. I see 35 people are already there on the chat. We'll wait for another 2 minutes and then we'll start. तब तक जितने भी लोग हैं वीडियो को सब्सक्राइब करो, लाइक करो चैनल को, as much as possible, share it as much as possible. Hey Ritish. Hey Snehil. Hi, how are you? How are you doing? Ritish is writing, say my name, bhaiya. Very cool, very cool, very cool. How can I land a job in PM right after college? Do took word bol do. Rajat, you will be able to land a job very soon if you just follow the channel and follow the videos on the channel. This is going to be super amazing. Awesome. Bas karo yaar, bas karo. Same message. Don't spam. Rajat, if you spam, I will put you out of the stream. Hey Rohit. Awesome, awesome. Good morning, good morning. Please like the video as much as possible and subscribe to the channel. Awesome, awesome. So guys, today what we are going to do is we are going to understand how technology plays a role and how a product manager eventually interacts with the tech teams, so that understandably you are able to make the right choices in order to move towards the right technology stack. कहने का मतलब है कि कैसे आप टेक टीम से इंटरेक्ट करो so that you understand that you have the right stack, that you are moving to the right audience, you are speaking the right language, and that is something that is extremely important as a product manager. Hey Ajinkya, guesstimate bhi hum karenge. Most probably what I'll do after this session is I'll put out a post in which the topics that you want to cover, and I'll try to cover that. Hey Jitendra, awesome, bahut badhiya, awesome. Cool. So we start. So this is a meme. PMs from non-CS background, they are like very quiet, and PMs from CS background, they are very good. They understand how to talk with the tech teams and understand that what sort of value prop that you have to put forward to the tech team so that they can start doing development the right way. Hey Shreya, awesome, awesome. So you like the meme, guys? Give me a sense. Do you like this meme? Have you seen this meme? क्या तुम लोगों ने ये meme देखा है? Awesome. Give me a yes or no. अरे भाई लिखो लिखो, इतनी स्लो थोड़ी ना है. Awesome, awesome, cool. So this is also a meme which shows PMs who are lazy and PMs who are self-motivated. This is how it looks like. Amazing, amazing, amazing. तो ये meme follow करो, और meme culture is the best culture to learn as a product manager. Cool. To start off, tech में आपने you might have heard of lot of jargons like caching, like database, like AI ML data science, like NLP. ये words किसने सुने? Caching, database, AI ML data science, NLP. What else? How many of you have heard these particular terms in tech teams by tech people? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Kalyan has also listened to that. Very cool, very cool, very cool. Very cool. So आज हम इन सब को break down करेंगे. We will try to break down and understand what is happening. Cool. So starting off, first of all, you have to understand that there are two types of OSs. One is Android and other is iOS. How many of you know what is an OS? Can somebody tell me what's an OS? What is an OS? What is an operating system? Can somebody tell me what is an OS? I'm asking you guys, I will not move forward. Can somebody tell me what is an operating system? Come on, write in the chat, guys. That is very important for me to understand that what is an operating system. Absolutely. So Atul has written right that it's an interface where you can interact with the computer. So an OS is like the engine of a car, or you must have heard of kernel. An OS is like the engine of a car which decides, or the brain of a human body, which decides what decisions can be made on top of all the body parts. Like एक OS के ऊपर बहुत सारे apps reside करेंगे, and what type of apps do actually reside on the OS is decided by the operating system. It is like the brain of a human body. It is like the engine of a car. And most in the world, there are two primary types of OS. One is Android, another is iOS. Android is developed by Google, iOS is developed by Apple. So even though apps might have different functionalities which reside on top of the OS, both versions are incompatible with each other. What I mean by that is an app on iOS will not be compatible with an app which is on Android, right? So there is a very heated debate. There's a heated debate that which OS to use. And there are multiple versions through which you decide which OS you should fundamentally use. And as a product manager, there are three primary pillars. Number one is versioning. Number two is performance. Number three is dynamic information. So versioning का क्या मतलब होता है? Versioning basically means that how quickly can we move from one version of the app to another version of the app so that people can have the best updated experience, right? Versioning का मतलब होता है कि if I launch a version 1 of the app with certain functionalities, is there another version of the app that improves on the types of functionalities? What is the second part? Performance. How quickly will you be able to use the different functionalities of the app on the version? And the third thing is dynamic information, that how quickly information can be put across on the versions of the app. Hello? Folks, are you able to understand? First version is versioning. Second is performance. Third is dynamic information. Versioning basically means how you move from one version of the app to another version of the app, which is the latest version. Second is performance, that how quickly the app is able to give across the relevant functionality. Third is called dynamic information, that how quickly the information on the different versions of the app are able to put across on the interface of the app. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no. तो आप दोनों ओएसएस में से कौन सा ओएस चूज करोगे? इन तीन फैक्टर्स की वजह से यूज करोगे. मेक सेंस? नाउ देयर इज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन that Android, which is as an OS, is completely open source. It is called the kernel of the operating system. Basically, the kernel or the version of OS, Android, is completely open source to all of the users, right? And Android bana kis pe hai? It is built on a kernel, which is, kernel basically means the heart of the OS. It is based on Linux. Linux was started by Linus Torvald, right? And that is something that he made completely free. The kernel is like a software which talks to the device's hardwares and helps do all of those things, the reading, writing applications, connecting to the keyboard, Wi-Fi. A kernel is like a car's engine. The computer literally wouldn't run without a kernel. And is kernel ke upar hi hamara Android OS bana hai. But Android is completely open source, right? So you need to ask me this question now, that why is Android completely open source? Can somebody tell me that why Android is completely open source? Give me a yes or no and tell me why Android is completely open source. Can somebody tell me that? Okay, I'm waiting. Ajay, we are going to talk about that where the most users are, but can somebody tell me that why is Android completely open source? Okay, so Kalyan is saying to build an ecosystem. So the funda is that Google as a platform makes most of its money through ads, right? And they don't make money through hardware. Hardware के लिए उन्होंने कुछ कुछ phones बनाए थे like Pixel, etc., whatever and whatnot. But Google completely makes money through ads. So the usage, from a usage pattern of Apple and Google, what you have to fundamentally understand, that Android is open source because it allows anyone to use Android, like Samsung, like HTC, like OnePlus, to typically use this version of their app and use their functionality, so that fundamentally all of the users, hello, fast adoption, absolutely, fast adoption is another reason, right? So Google made it completely because they want everybody to use Android and they can make money through ads. But why didn't Apple do this? Can somebody tell me why didn't Apple typically use this platform and use bloatware? Because Apple fundamentally makes 60% of its income through iPhone sales, right? And they want a very close and very well done kind of experience that happens on the app. Do you understand, guys? Give me a yes or no. So Apple typically made this very, 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 very close and well knit, because iOS they want the hardware, software, and as well as the user experience to be very, very well read. And Android fundamentally did it because they make money through ads. Everybody who comes on Android would be able to use the platform, and they will make money through apps. Make sense? So if in order to make decisions that how do you use a platform, the first version that you have to think of is that where my major market is and what OS you use. For example, let me ask you this question. You are building an app for people to drive 10 rupee subscriptions in tier 2 cities of some music subscription, podcast subscription. So tell me which OS would be far more usable. Apple did not believe that in open source. Absolutely, that makes sense. Now, you have to decide what are the different factors through which you can use a particular ecosystem. The first factor is where my major market is and what OS they use. For example, let me ask this question. You are a podcasting company and the podcast is of 10 rupee podcasts, which eventually can be used in tier 2, tier 3 cities. And it's a lingual podcast. मतलब different languages में, मान लो तेलुगु में है, तमिल में है. So which platform would you use, Android or iOS? In this scenario, what platform would you use? Absolutely, because your major market is primarily in tier 2, tier 3 cities, जहां पे कोई iOS use ही नहीं करता, उनके पास iPhones है ही नहीं. Second, what kind of customization do I need in the app, right? For example, if you want to make a lot of customization, what platform would you use, iOS or Android? If you want to make a lot of customization in your app, show multiple ads, make money through ad layers, you will again use Android. iOS does not allow you to use ad layers because they don't want bloatware. Third, ingestion of layers on platform for acquisition, right? So Android is not only just in the phone ecosystem. Android is simultaneously in the TV ecosystem, in the car ecosystem. So if you want to gather a lot of data for acquisition, you would use Android. Also, Apple does not allow a lot of information in terms of privacy guidelines. So the third important factor for you to understand that which platform to use is primarily from an acquisition standpoint, that which platform to use, right? And this is acquisition basically means in terms of the data gathered. So Android is something that you would fundamentally use for acquisition. And fourth, availability of tech resources for the development to take place. Now, what is easier to find, an Android engineer or an iOS engineer? Give me a yes or no. Give me, simultaneously tell me which is an Android engineer easy to find or is a iOS engineer easy to find? Awesome. So I see people are writing Android. Absolutely. So there are 4 major factors through which you would be able to understand which platform to use. One, where my major market is and what OS to use. Second, what kind of customization do I need in the app? Do I need to put multiple ad layers, different bloat layers? Third, what kind of data do I need on the platform? And fourth, what kind of tech resources are available in the market for you to effectively build the platform? Is this clear to you guys? Give me a yes or no. Is this clear? As a product manager, you will look at these 4 factors: where my major market is, what kind of customization do I need, third, what is the ingestion of layers, ingestion of data that you want, and fourth, what are the tech resources who are available. Awesome. So we'll quickly move forward. Amazing, amazing. Now we will talk a little bit about the basics of something called system design and architecture for PMs. I will cover that. I will cover that. Thanos. So Thanos is writing, please also cover no code app development platform. Amazing. I will do that. I'll do that. So in order to fundamentally, any system which is designed is basically designed on an architecture pattern. Can we not develop app for Android? So BioBricks is asking, can we not develop app for Android and iOS? There are definitely progressive learning apps which you can use fundamentally, but we will talk about them later. Majorly native apps are incompatible to each other. Now let's talk about the basics of system design and architecture for PMs. Now, for all of us who come from product management and non-engineering background, it is important to understand to build our technical skills. Sometimes knowing the technical bar for PM starts, and it is the easiest part. Okay, so there is a 3-tier architecture in a software product consists of. Number 1 is called presentation layer. Second is called application layer. Third is called the data layer. Presentation layer is typically the UI layer. What I mean by UI is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery. They all come in the presentation layer, the first layer. Any UI that you see on the app is called as the presentation layer. Second is called the application layer. Application layer is the backend where the business resides. Now, the backend where it resides, the presentation layer can communicate to the application layer via APIs, and we'll talk about what an API is, right? And the third layer is the data layer, where all the information of a particular app or whatever information that you capture, that gets stored in the database. Now, is this clear? There are 3 types of layers in any system. The first layer is called the presentation layer, the UI layer, where HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, they all reside. It is separate. It's the first layer. The second layer is called the application layer, which is basically where the business logic resides. And there, any logic, like for example, you are typically signing up on Flipkart. What are the different criteria for somebody to sign up, to give email, to give phone number, etc.? All of those logic resides in the application layer. And the last layer is the database layer, where somebody who has signed up, the information of all of that particular user gets stored in the database. Is this clear to you guys? Give me a yes. There are 3 layers to any system. Give me a yes or no in the chat. Batao yaar, itna slow mat karo. We have to cover a lot of things today. Give me a yes in the chat. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Now, these 3 layers there is a concept which is called separation of concerns. It's a design principle for separating a computer program into distinct sections. Like alag-alag sections mein tum separation of concerns ko karoge. For example, let's assume, like agar tumne kal ko business logic change ho gaya, so it doesn't mean that the presentation layer will also change. For example, if you go to Flipkart as a website, the presentation layer shows the sign up form, right? Now in the application layer, you change the logic and say that now I don't require email ID and it is optional. If you change the logic in the application layer, it should not affect the presentation layer, nor it should affect the data layer. This concept is called separations of concern. Like for example, changing the user interface should not change the business logic and vice versa. So separation of concerns ka matlab hota hai ki think of it as 3 different types of systems. Let me just quickly share my screen and tell you what I'm talking about. Give me a second. I'll just quickly share my screen. So first is presentation layer. UI layer. Second is application layer. Business logic. Third is data layer. Data to be captured. Now, if I make any change, Here, it should not change the logic. Logic remains same. Logic remains same. If I make any change here, logic remains same. Logic remains same. So by changing the logic in any of the three layers, right, it should not affect the other two layers. That is something that is called as separation of concerns. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you guys? Give me a yes or no in the chat. Separation of concerns basically means any change in any of the three layers does not affect the remaining layers. Amazing. Amazing. Now, next step. अब ये तो समझ में आ गया आपको कि तीन लेयर्स हैं. एक UI लेयर है, एक एप्लीकेशन लेयर है, एक डेटा लेयर है. The next step is to scale, right? In order to scale, you need 2-3 things. One, the client side. Second, client basically means the app that you're using. Second, the web server, and simultaneously the database. Like for example, कल को हमारे पास 1000 यूजर आ रहे थे. 1000 से we scale to 10,000. So it should not happen that when people are hitting your client or when people are using your app, the web server, the web on which the application logic resides, it should get overwhelmed. Absolutely. So what you typically do is you create a list of servers. Absolutely. So Ajinkya has asked this question, any book that you recommend? I recommend 2 books called Swipe to Unlock and Tech for PMs by Deepak Singh. So क्या होता है? Try to understand this. Now, logic is that all of your presentation layer resides on the application that you're using, like WhatsApp that you're using, right? Now, anybody who sends a message on WhatsApp, it goes to the web server, right? And we have created a server जहाँ पे हम logic बना के रखते हैं कि any message that should go on WhatsApp from one person, it should eventually go to the web server and eventually it should reach towards the other client, right? Now, but what happens if tomorrow you scale from 10,000 users to 1 lakh users, right? There, in that case, you typically create a list of servers, list of multiple servers. And these servers are typically routed to different servers through this concept called a load balancer, right? Like, for example, I'll quickly share my screen again. Just here. Please let me know if you're able to see my screen. Client is WhatsApp. Message. Web server. Now, here what will happen is your web server is your backend. Number of users is 10. If we scale the number of users to 10 million, we will not need just one web server. We will need web server 1, web server 2, web server 3. And what will happen is here there will come a load balancer. The load balancer will automatically send 5,50,000 users to one server, 40,000 users to another server, 10,000 users to another server. And this is what a load balancer does. So in the case, give me a second, I'll just go back again. So in the case when you have multiple people on the servers, you typically need something called a load balancer to direct traffic. Direct traffic, and it will handle a fraction. Multiple servers will have multiple types of loads, right? So now you have a cluster of web servers through which, and application server is basically the web server only, but each request that comes from a user may be routed to a different server, right? Now what will happen is, now the question is that if different requests are routing to different servers, how will a server, like for example, server 1 got a request that Shravan is a user. Now, next time Shravan sends a request, the request goes to server 2. How will server 2 know that Shravan is already a user? Give me a sense. Give me a yes or no. How will server 2 know that Shravan has sent already a request and it is already on server 1? So they think there are 100 requests that are going. Shravan initially sent a request which went to server 1 and server 1 got it validated. Now, the second part, that next time Shravan sends a request, it goes to server 2. How will server 2 know that Shravan has already sent a request to server 1? Awesome. So in this case, what you do is your database maintains the state. Do you understand what I mean by that? So there are 3 layers. First is application layer. Second is the server layer. Third is the DB layer. Yes. So server 2 will absolutely. Servers can talk to each other, or there can be a possibility that your state of sign up is maintained in the DB. So even if the server 2 does not know, it automatically takes information from the DB and understands that Shravan is already a user for this particular application, for Flipkart, right? And so what do you learn from this? You learn that the state of a particular user can only be maintained in a DB. Yes, absolutely correct. So again, I'm repeating. You start from, let's assume you were a user for Flipkart. You signed up a request. Server 1 recognized that you have signed up. Next time when you sign up, it goes to server 2. Server 2 does not know, but server 2 knows that your state, that you are already a signed up user, already resides in the DB. It will go to the DB and bring information from the DB and automatically can showcase it to the client, and you will be signed up. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no. Is it clear? I will repeat it again. If it's clear, give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no, guys. Amazing. बहुत अच्छा, बहुत सही. Now, the importance of being stateless. State basically means ensuring that the value prop or the data is already covered. The importance of being stateless primarily refers to the server side of things. The database is an appropriate state where you can maintain the database is the appropriate place to maintain the state. And most holistic systems are stateful. Otherwise, you would not be able to fill your shopping cart at Amazon, because at every page click, it will forget who you are. So the key to being stateless in the web server, which is serving your APIs, 2 places are there where you can maintain the state. The first place is called the database, so that you are maintaining all your states in a particular database. Like, what if someone is using your username for server 1, same state, but different user? Okay, Atoman, I will respond to that, but let me just cover this. The first part is that in order to maintain the state, the information is located in the server. The second place where you can maintain a state is through browser via cookies. A lot of times you see that when you sign up in Chrome browser, automatically the URLs are already published, because your information is getting stored in a cookie. It is important to remember that cookies are not the single source of truth. Cookies are user dependent. So the best way to store the state is in a DB, which is a single source of truth. In order to maintain the state, that's why all of these companies, why do these companies like Flipkart, Amazon want you to sign up every time? Because they want to maintain your state in a particular DB. They don't want guest users. Ideally, any company like Flipkart, Amazon do not want guest users. They want to maintain your state in a DB. Awesome. Now, another thing that you want to understand is you can handle a bunch of requests, but what if your data center catches fire? What does happen? In that case, what do you do? What if you sent a request, your states are maintained in a DB, but what if your data center catches fire? What will happen then? How do you maintain if your data center only catches fire? Yes, absolutely. So what you typically do is you create a cluster of databases, right? And in order to maintain that cluster of databases, you also use something called as a CDN, or a content delivery network, which basically means that your information is sharded into multiple databases, and a CDN is a cluster of servers which maintains certain little information. So you want to, what if, and that is something that you do in a process which is typically called as sharding, which is you break down the current database also into sub databases, and the sub databases maintain a replica of information which is currently needed. Absolutely. Is this clear to you guys, that what if your data center catches fire? In that case, you have created sub DBs which are called DB shards, in which your information is fundamentally retained. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no, guys. Yes, absolutely. So another thing that you want to understand is, okay, now your database and everything is working fine. For example, if your DB is located in Oregon in US and you are putting from Mumbai, it will take a lot of time for the request to get covered. So in order to, for us to make the request, basically a request from the Flipkart application to actually the user, if in order to make it very simple, you use something called as a CDN, a content delivery network, which basically means that your current server is not exactly a single server. It is a list of multiple servers, one located in Mumbai, one located in Oregon, one located in Chennai, one located in Delhi, right? So that from where the user is sending a request, the information can be brought very fast. And this is done by CDN. CDNs are of multiple times. Amazon has its own CDN. Tata has its own CDN. Multiple. So CDN is a cluster of servers, cluster of network servers, which minimize the latency of a user from where the user is actually sending a request. Yes, absolutely, Anmol. So Anmol has rightly pointed out that this is the reason VPN is slower, because VPN, in a VPN, you cannot use CDN because I don't know where your location is. Absolutely. Awesome. The next thing that you have to understand is a CDN is a system of geographically located servers which provide fast delivery of internet content. Does that make, yahan tak baat samajh mein aa gayi ki what is a CDN? Give me a yes or no, guys. If everybody, a CDN is a network of geographically located distributed servers that work together to give you the delivery of the fast content, right? Yahan tak baat samajh mein aa gayi, what is a CDN? Amazing. So another thing that you have to understand is, besides the CDN, we also retain information in the cache. Cache is in-memory data. What I mean by in-memory data is that, like there is a RAM, there is a ROM, right? In a typical computer, there is random access memory, there is read-only memory. RAM is something which is in memory, which is stored on the computer, and it is very less. It's very expensive, and it is where the most important tasks are done by the computer. Like a lot of times when you take a Mac, you say 8 GB RAM hai sir, 256 GB ROM hai. In that case, there is another structure, an open source in-memory data store, which is called Redis, on which all the information is actually stored and information can be retrieved fast. A lot of times you hear this word called Redis cache. How many of you know have heard this word called Redis cache? Give me a yes. How many of you have heard this word called Redis cache? Amazing. Redis is, again, it's an in-memory data store which is used in order to retrieve information from the RAM of the particular web server that you're looking at. So think of it like this. I will again create an architecture. Let me just quickly show you an architecture to you. Think of it like this. Client on top. Client sends the request to web server. Web server is with CDN. It will the request go to the nearest CDN. Then comes just between these two, I'm going to put again, there is Redis. So major important information comes from Redis. Now, think of it like this. The client sent a request. It went to the Redis cache. If the Redis cache has the request, the information will go from there only, or else it will go to the web server. The web server will automatically choose the load balancer, or the load distributor will automatically figure out which is the nearest web server, and the information from that will be distributed back to the client, and you see a WhatsApp message. So think of it, I will repeat again. You are using WhatsApp. व्हाट्सएप से आपने मैसेज किया, वो मैसेज पहले जाएगी आपके वेब सर्वर पे, वेब सर्वर की रेडिस कैश से पता चलेगा कि whether that information is already stored in the cache. If it's in the cache, the information will be retrieved from Redis. अगर नहीं है, it will go to the web server. Web server automatically, the load balancer will automatically figure out which is the closest web server on which the logic can be put across. It will then go to the CDN. The CDN will talk to the DB, and your message which you sent will go to Anmol, will go to the other partner, यहां तक बात क्लियर हो गई? Is this clear to you guys? यहां तक बात समझ में आई? Give me a yes or no. Yes, Yogesh, it uses lat long to take care of the nearest CDN. यहां तक बात क्लियर है? Give me a yes or no. यहां तक पूरी बात समझ में आ गई? So the full stack किसको बोला जाता है? Client, web server, CDN and database. This is typically called as a full stack. यहां तक बात पूरी क्लियर हो गई? Amazing, amazing, amazing. Now what you have to understand, यहां तक मैंने आपको जो भी बातें बताई, these are मतलब like primarily relevant for you to understand as a PM. This will never come in real life. This will never come in real, but you will have a fundamental understanding that what is Redis mean? It's an encrypt. So I might not be able to pronounce it, but Moideen is asking, is it the encrypted message? Yes, it's the encrypted message if you want to send across. Now, in order to fundamentally understand, these are the types of questions a PM should ask in order to fundamentally understand the use cases, right? अब ये सारी चीजें जो भी तुमने समझी, this is all to understand basically what a PM does, right? Now, but based on this understanding, these are some of the questions that a PM should ask when they're interacting with tech. One, the essence of understanding the same is, first, as a PM, ask more questions than answer. As a PM, ask more questions than answer. Like, you should ask your engineer, how fast would the database be? Will it be able to process under a certain SLA? SLA basically means service level agreement. What I mean by that is कि क्या 2 सेकंड के अंदर रिक्वेस्ट आ जाएगी कि नहीं आएगी? Can I get a particular information? Can it support complex analytical queries? This is what you should ask as a PM. Second, always provide the problem, not the solution. You are not going to build technical systems. So product managers should always ask the problem, not the solution, right? Then understand what is tech debt. Tech debt basically means it is the implied cost. Like, for example, कल को एक engineer आपको ये बोलता है कि यार, okay, we will build the system, but it will take 3 weeks. You then ask that, is there a simpler solution which is not as logical, but it is very, very important. तो अगर आप ये बोलोगे और वो बंदा बोलेगा मैं एक हफ्ते के अंदर ही बना दूंगा ये solution, I will be able to make it in 1 week, but it will have certain challenges. So that is what you call as tech debt, that you have created a suboptimal solution which solves your query for now, but will not scale after a certain point. Okay, Prerna is asking, please repeat the flow once again. Prerna, you can go back. The recording will be available. You can just check back again the entire structure. So as a PM, you should ask, one, you should ask more questions than answers. Second, always provide the problem, understand what is tech debt, and also understand what is development costs. That anything that you're building, if the development is too high, the pace of execution is slowed. So if you're building a suboptimal solution, you should also understand the operational cost, the opportunity costs. This is something you should understand fundamentally as a PM. So as a PM, you will do 4 things when you're interacting with tech. Number one, ask more questions than answers. Second, provide the problem, not the solution. Right? Always ask them that this is my problem, how will you solve it? Third, understand tech debt. That if somebody says that this solution will take 3 weeks, you can ask that can we do it in probably 1 week, but I will understand that there is some suboptimal solution that you're building across. Fourth, also understand the value of development costs. राइट दैट बेसिकली कि अगर मैं इस चीज को बना रहा हूं तो मेरी कॉस्ट क्या है, हाउ मच टाइम इट विल टेक टू एग्जीक्यूट एंड टेक इट टू द मार्केट. डज दैट मेक सेंस? गिव मी a yes or no guys in the chat. Give me a yes or no in the chat guys. These are the 4 standard questions which a PM should fundamentally ask. Amazing, amazing, amazing. बहुत बढ़िया. Now, एक एग्जाम्पल करते हैं. Let's try to understand translating this into effort. For example, you are a PM and you want to build a feature and you want to understand what trade-offs can you take, right? तो देखो अब मैं इसको थोड़ा सा बड़ा करता हूं. As a PM, for example, you went to the tech team and asked, let's build a search functionality on a website. The engineer said, okay, I can. So Vaibhav has asked a question. Let me just quickly. On problem part, we have to give tech guys what we want as solution. Is the solution? No. The tech solution, so Vaibhav is asking, do we have to give it as a solution to the tech team? No, Vaibhav, you don't have to. You have to give them the problem, but you have to understand once they tell you the solution, what does it mean? What does it totally mean? That is why if I go to the previous slide, it is far more important that you understand what is tech debt, what is development cost, what is the solution that they're providing, and you should ask more and more questions as much as possible. Now, I'm giving you a live example. For example, you want to build search on a website. So the PM will go and say to the engineer, let's build a search functionality on this entity, right? On this website. So engineer क्या बोलेगा? Engineer बोलेगा, okay, we can use Elasticsearch or Solar and set up a pipeline for all the attributes. We will get a rich set of filtering options. So engineer ने बोला कि हम यार Elasticsearch को use करेंगे, right? अब PM ने next question, what does the next question asks? The PM says, how long will it take? Engineer says, that will take up at least a month. So the PM should ask next question, can we do it in a shorter time? Right? The engineer says, okay, we can do it in a shorter time, but it will be a very simple solution, like somebody can just query from the DB and get the information. It will take only 2 days. Now the important part. अब तुम्हें 2 solutions पता चल गए. एक है comprehensive solution which will take a month. The second is a small solution which will only take 2 days. Right? In that scenario, the PM should ask, what limitations will that solution have? Engineer would say a couple of them. Right? If the scale grows, it will be hard to introduce new filters. Right? The PM would say, okay, since we are not optimizing for scale right now, let's just go by the simple solution. Engineer कहता है, okay, we will implement the simple solution, but later it will be part of the tech debt, that if tomorrow scale comes, we will face a problem. The PM says, all right, I will keep that in mind and consider that part of my product roadmap. ये पूरी conversation समझ में आई? Give me a yes or no. पहले इंजीनियर ने पूछा क्या, PM ने पूछा क्या बनाओगे? तो इंजीनियर ने बोला कि यार कि we will make an Elasticsearch based solution. Then the PM says, how long will it take? The engineer says it will take a month. Then the PM says, I want to do it in a little time. The engineer says, no. If you want to do it in a little time, it will be a suboptimal solution. Then the PM says, what limitations will it have? The engineer says, okay, if the scale grows tomorrow, there will be a fundamental problem and we will have to put it as part of our tech debt. The engineer says, okay, fair enough. And the PM says, okay, fair enough, I will make it part of the product roadmap. ये बात पूरी समझ में आई? Give me a yes or no. ये बात समझ में आई? Ajay, you might be a great engineer. Awesome. Now the last part for today is that we will understand what are APIs and how do they work. For example, गूगल, अब मुझे एक चीज बताओ, उबर के ऐप में जो तुम मैप देखते हो, जो तुम मैप देखते हो, उस मैप के लिए डू यू थिंक उबर हैज बिल्ट दैट कंप्लीट ऐप? If you build, if you look at the map in the Uber app, do you think, it is the PM, do you think Uber has built the entire map by itself? Do you think yes, absolutely, you are absolutely right. So Google lets you input a small snippet of code in your app to draw a Google map, and it provides all snippet of code to draw out all the maps, do all of those things. Yes, you're absolutely right, you're absolutely right. So it is just by incorporating a very small snippet of code you can use the functionality of Google. Socho, right? It is so interesting. In short, APIs let an API is a small snippet of code which allows a particular application to use the functionality of that application in a second application. An API is called an application performance interface, right? In short, APIs let applications talk to each other. Now there are three main kinds of APIs. The first kind of API is like solving a particular problem. It is like calculating driver directions, sending text messages, translating sentences. It is how you can effectively use Google Maps in Uber, in Swiggy, in multiple places, right? It is called a software API. The second part is to get certain information, right? It is the information API. Like, for example, if you want to get the recent tweets, if you want to get scores, if you want to understand today's weather, the first is to compute something, to get direction. It's a computational API. The second API is an information API, where like Cricinfo gets all the information from the Star Sports API, right? Application programming interface. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. And the third API is called the hardware API. Like Snapchat taps into your phone's camera to zoom, focus, and snap photos, right? So Google itself use your geolocation API to figure out where you are. So yes, absolutely. So what you have to understand is API is a small snippet of code which you can use to perform multiple actions in multiple applications. Like you can use Google's APIs in your API to use maps, right? And it makes the life of developers very easy, right? But APIs are not perfect, right? You also have to understand, like, in for example, kal ko Google ka API band ho gaya, do you realize Uber's entire supply will be dishandled? Yes, it does. So अगर कल को मैं एक सवाल पूछता हूं, मान लो गूगल का मैप्स का एपीआई फट गया, डू यू रियलाइज उबर का पूरा डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम बंद हो जाएगा? That is how it works. So APIs are not perfect. You also have to understand it builds a lot of dependencies. It also brings a lot, but more often than not, APIs are very good for somebody to use, right? So APIs allow two systems to communicate to each other. The best description of I have heard is in the form of a contract between two systems, and API documentation determines the contract. Yes. Now, for example, one of the very good analogies of how an API is, assume that you are going to a restaurant as a customer. You are not allowed to enter the kitchen, right? You need to know what is available, right? For that, you have the menu. After looking the menu, you make an order to the waiter, which passes it to the kitchen, and you get what you ask for. So think of an API like you are a customer going to a restaurant, right? You are not allowed to enter the kitchen. You need to know what is available, right? For that, you have the menu, right? And after looking at the menu, you make an order to the waiter, which passes it to the kitchen, and you get what you ask for. So here, the kitchen is the database, right? Second, the waiter is the API that eventually sends the request to the kitchen. The customer is you, right? Menu is the API doc, and order is the API call. अच्छा कोई बात नहीं यार, कोई बात नहीं. योगेश हैज रिटन, भैया आपसे बेटर एग्जांपल उम्मीद किए थे, जस्ट अ जोक. कोई बात नहीं यार, नेक्स्ट टाइम बेटर एग्जांपल करेंगे. या ऑसम. तो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट it's a very common example that you want to put across, right? So the kitchen is the database, The waiter is the API, the customer is you, the menu is the API docs, and the order is the API call, right? That is something that you do. So this is where we currently stop today's lecture, and tomorrow, next time, we will cover the next part of the lecture. अभी के लिए मैं यहाँ पे बंद कर रहा हूँ. The cohort I am going to start, but most probably वो जून में नहीं होगा. It will be part of July, and I am going to show a very interesting thing to you. This is how the cohort looks. Are you able to? This is what we will cover in the cohort. Introduction to product management, art of critical thinking, analytics, UI UX, growth, and tech for PMs. And it has all the informations. Once I will share the link with you guys, I will share the link in very small time. So this is something that we will do. The cohort will start very, very soon. And the price of the cohort is going to be 29,999. So in July, the cohort will start. It will be, the price will be 29,999, but it will be a 6-week complete cohort that is going to work out. And we will be discussing from the very fundamentals of product management to the end of product management, where you become very, very logical and understand what are the concepts of a PM, right? Awesome. Cool. So if you have any questions, guys, I will take 5 more minutes to answer any questions. Feel free to ask, and then we will quickly close the session. Yeah. So any prerequisites? There are no prerequisites. Just go to YouTube, look at the different lectures. Just understand there are no prerequisites. Absolutely. Yes. So I will be doing mock interviews. You will learn everything from me. Mock interviews. We will also do simultaneously product sense questions, product execution questions. All of those things will be covered and it will be part of the 6-week cohort. Yes. Awesome. Any other questions? See, honestly, the best way. So Prashant has asked, how could we handle the timelines given by tech team not getting justified? So what you can fundamentally do is you can go and reprioritize what are your goals from that particular sprint. Lot of times we make this mistake. That you try to tell tech team ki yaar ye mat karo, wo mat karo. The best way is to go back, understand what they're saying, and go back and reprioritize and remove something from the scope. So that you are able to put it across. Lot of times हम tech team को push करते हैं, push नहीं करना होता. What we should go back and remove something fundamentally from the scope, and that is very, very important. And this improves your prioritization. Got it. Does that answer your question? Awesome. So guys, please like the video. Please share it as whatever you have learned today. Please share it on LinkedIn. Whatever you have learned today, we have tried to simplify tech as much as possible. Next time, what we will cover is very interesting. We will cover relational and non-relational databases. We will cover hybrid native and PWA apps. We will cover then data science tools for a PM, then no code, low code, and programming languages. And simultaneously, we will also cover data science concepts for a PM. That is something that I'll also cover. Awesome. It's in July. Ninja Hattori, it's in July. Yes. I will. Anmol, I will do a session on how to create wireframes, but I think there is already a session which I have done on wireframes. You can go and check it on the channel. Ninja Hattori, I have fundamentally written it across. It is in July. Yeah. It's next week only. Next week we will do an AMA. After the AMA, we will do a continued session. Awesome. Cool, guys. I'm just taking off. Thank you very much. Please like the video, subscribe to the session, subscribe to the channel as much as possible. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.